Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is your brother Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show, coming to you on another Wednesday. Location is Washington, D.C. Want to give a shout out to all the people that came out to the Human Appeal Comedy Takeover. We were in the cities of Dallas, Houston, and Atlanta. Great audiences, great shows. Thank you so much for the support and supporting Appeal in the Gaza campaign. We're going to be in New Jersey, New Jersey this Friday, Washington D.C. on Saturday, and in Queens, New York on Sunday. It's part of the You Got It, the Comedy Takeover Human Appeal USA. Go to their website, Human Appeal USA.org. Again, that's Human Appeal USA.org. Hope all of y'all had a great week since the last time we were here. Want to give a shout out. We lost one of our soldiers. May Allah be pleased with him. Brother Khalid Wajid, out of the Bay Area. Everybody knows him in the Bay Area. He is a legend. When I visited out there, I had a chance to meet with him, but not really sit with him. You know, he's one of those type of OGs. Really, really instrumental in the Bay Area. You ask anybody about Islam, his name is going to come up. All the way going back to the first to the second, his name is going to come out. He was a long-standing member of the Lighthouse. It is a loss, not only because of the character of the man. He was a historian, contributing to the Muslim Journal and a lot of other projects around the area. So shout out to him and his family. We pray that Allah blesses you, gives you a grave wide with light for all your good deeds. Inna Allahu ilayhi raji'un. We miss you already. Okay, here we go. It's not been 3 weeks or a month since Trump was elected. Now, I'm going to go into some things today. I'm just going to spout them out because I'm going to engage not conspiracy theories, but I'm going to engage some concept theories. Not conspiracy theories, but concept theories. First and foremost, the organization or the assembling of his cabinet is a freaking joke. First of all, you got people who have absolutely no business in these positions. Starting with the Matt Getz guy. How are you going to be the attorney general? You have sexual complaints and sexual assault complaints and issues of taking minors across state lines. You have all of these things. The first investigation you should be doing is yourself if you get the job. I believe that's correct. That's number one. Number two, I'm clear now that they do not want a Department of Education because they hired Vince McMahon's wife from the WWE. They hired his wife to be the head of the Department of Education. I'm like, come on, bro. Come on. Nobody wants to see it. And for everybody that said that Project 2023 was a joke, it didn't matter. The guy who wrote it has a position in Trump's cabinet. So I'm just sitting here and I'm not getting mad. I'm not getting angry. And the reason I'm not getting angry because I'm telling you, we're gonna have to have all of that reserve and outrage and being utterly disgusted. Save it, because you're gonna have to spread it over 4 years. And my question to the Muslims who voted for Trump: you're gonna be the first ones that he bans. And when he bans, let me tell you something. On behalf of the Black Muslim community and the Black community, don't come around me looking for sympathy. I am not your partner. I am not your buddy. This is your fight, okay? When they come looking for you, they come looking for you. When they deport, they deport. Latinos, love you. But when they come looking for you, don't look for me. Don't look for any of us that look like me because we are now disengaged. We are no longer disillusioned with the political process. We are disillusioned with you, the people who voted for Trump. Case in point, you guys see the cracks in the walls forming already. Columbus, Ohio. The middle of Columbus, Ohio, downtown, you have neo-Nazis yelling out the N-word in broad daylight. Now, what is it, brothers and sisters, that gives them this leave to feel like that they can do these things? I'm going to tell you what it is. It's the perceived understanding that we're soft. And for all of those that want to know, white supremacy in this country has been on life support for a long, long time until this man came. Let's talk about it. Trump, too. Are you not entertained? Here on the Shout Out Show. We'll be right back. We're back. I want to give a shout out to our people, of course, our Shout Out Show family, the royalty. Uh, they're getting in the spots. Want to give a shout out to Sister Ree. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Sister Ree. Good to see you on the show. Hope you're doing well. Health is good. Pray that you and your family are blessed. Brother Derek and brother Jawan, nephew Jawan, I hope he's doing well. Give him my salams. Tell him I said hello. And we want to make sure we shout out our Canadian envoy, my brother Altaf Rashid, coming all the way in from Toronto, Canada. He is an envoy, an ambassador to the show. One of our day ones, we call him Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. Always a pleasure to see you in house, beloved. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And we want to give a shout out, of course, to our illustrious leader, executive producer, Sister Satana Whitfield. Satana, I'll see you in New Jersey, inshallah, at Juma on Friday. But of course, she makes everything's work on 1 and 2, so we appreciate her as always. So I thought this thing out, and I thought about it because Gladiator 2 is coming out soon with Denzel Washington, and one of my favorite lines from Gladiator 1 was, "Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?" With Russell Crowe asking, "Are you not entertained?" And what he was saying was, "Look at the carnage. You call it entertainment. I call it carnage. I contributed to misery, death, corruption, but are you not entertained?" And when he says, "Are you not entertained?" he is asking about normalcy. Normalcy, meaning that what you see at some point in time, it doesn't phase you because it doesn't move the needle in terms of, is this different? Is this out of pocket? Is it something that's out of the extraordinary? No, no. I, like many, predicted that if Trump got in office, the Department of Education was going to be axed as much as it could, or just stripped down as well. Because look at his constituency. The people who voted are not educated. You cannot afford to have people who are educated. Listen, there's a good chance at some point in time, the Shout Out Show will be taken off the air. Why? Because I'm not going to come here on the television, I'm going to come on the TV screen and give you a bunch of BS and malarkey. No, I'm going to research. I'm going to cross-reference. Brothers and sisters, you need to know, and I'm saying brothers and sisters, but I'm saying, where are the warriors out there? Because this is a time for warriors. This is not a time for warriors. It's a time for warriors. Folks who will stand up and fight. And that's the thing that happened. No disrespect to Kamala Harris. No disrespect to the people that voted for her. No disrespect at all. But this animal that you're dealing with only understands you if you present a threat. If there is a threat, if it's education, get rid of DEI because it presents a threat. I won't fund any schools that promote critical race theory because it's a threat. First of all, critical race theory is not taught in public schools. It is not. It started to colleges, and even not even taught to college at a large scope. Critical race theory is something different because it questions the modality of how people hold on to power. And if you understand how people hold on to power, then of course you can question it, you can confront it, you can defeat it. Now, getting a little, I want to say, being a little closed-minded here. A little closed-minded here. This country will divide into 3 factions. 3 factions, I believe. There's opposition and resistance. But in that opposition, there will be fighters. There will be people who may seek, if you will, other means to protect themselves other than a failed democracy. Am I talking about revolution? I'm not talking about that. But then again, you don't know the hearts of people because at this point in time, you did 4 years of this administration. But at this point in time, we don't know how hard this administration is going to push the boundaries of the foolishness and asinine behavior and policies that they've been trying to put out here for years. It is clear, brothers and sisters, that the advent of putting black people back on the plantation has nothing to do with cotton. It has to do with education. It has to do with making sure that when you get a degree out of this school, the functionality of this school and the education rate and success of this school is so poor that when you get into the marketplace, nobody looks at your diploma. I didn't say college. Nobody looks at your diploma. And if you get to college, you've been a part of a situation that's been assimilated and threatened by the fact that it cannot afford to produce free thinkers in the market and the environment of which we have today. Can anybody tell me what school did Melania Trump graduate from? Satana, what school did Melania Trump graduate from? Do you know? You know Trump went to school, he ain't graduate, he paid somebody. I'm just saying, and here's the thing. Here's the thing. See, the Supreme Court, and this is something I want everybody to be really, really clear about. The Supreme Court is not this body of people who interpret laws. They don't interpret laws. They don't. What they do is they fashion laws. When you fashion a law, what it means is that you take the guideposts off the law and you say, how can I make it feasible? How can I make it somewhat comparable to real law? How can I, if you will, when I'm fashioning law, it says, how can I make it whereby, okay, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm definitely not saying it's wrong. I'm saying that the space in here, this particular law, is not necessary precedent. And what happens is when you go back and forth and forth and back and forth and forth, what happens is people establish precedents, but then they put trap doors in the precedents. This will be, for lack of a better word, this will be the next 4 years of judicial trap doors of people all of a sudden, and be very careful because the laws that are coming down the way are laws that have been on the books, and some of the people just say, oh, that law makes no sense, but it was never taken off the books. That's what critical race theory addresses. Some of these laws that were never taken off the books. Some of these laws will be revisited, if you will, and they were left on the books for a particular point. Because if you say, oh, that law doesn't apply, but if it's not removed as a law, it's still valid. And you see people coming. That's why, we were talking about, we had our brother Hamid on a couple of weeks ago, and he's talking about some of these laws that were on the books that were 200 years old. They go back to slavery time. And everybody says, no, but you're dealing with a population, a group of people that will go back and pull a law for 200 years and say this law is still on the books, therefore it's valid. And then you turn it over to the Supreme Court that has no backbone, they have no integrity, and then they will sit here and probably spend more time than they should giving a decision or rendering a decision that basically will make this some type of valid thing. Mark my words. At the end of this 4 years, there's a strong possibility, and there will be a push that people will start talking about Donald Trump for president. Not president, I'm sorry. Donald Trump, president for life. Think about it. Donald Trump, president for life. You have judges who have openly flaunted law to keep him out of jail, to keep him out of prison, right? I'm not a gambling man, but we all knew going into this election, the only way he could not go to jail is that he had to be president. People, you look at the contrast that we're talking about. We're talking about a person who's committed so many crimes. The only way that he cannot wind up in prison is that he has to go become the president and get people to pardon him. He's going to pardon himself. This is something that we talked about in the first Trump administration. And even then I said this is a problem because even though they quote unquote they talked about, oh, that wouldn't be feasible, all of a sudden now people are talking about it's feasible. All of a sudden now, there was a they just had the first ruling. Pay attention. They just had the first ruling where judges went against releasing those who were responsible for January 6th, those who have been indicted, convicted. So that was the first try. That was the first try. And also, um, I want to be specific how I word this because I feel like my research isn't there, but as a concept, I feel like this is really, really strong. This 2024 election was stolen, but it was stolen for Trump. I'll say it again. This 2024 election was stolen, but it was stolen for Trump. We looked at his irregularities, we looked at his egregious behavior, but we really didn't look at the fact that all the apparatus from the last election was still in place. Nobody addressed these electors that went into Michigan, electors that went into Georgia and these places, even Wisconsin, who somehow got full view and access to these voter rolls. Nobody talked about that. Maybe they were, of course, indicted on charges, but what happened to that information? Nobody's talking about that. And everybody knows if you hang around criminals, let's take a thief. Let's take a thief. The biggest fear a thief has is that somebody is going to steal something from them. In the converse, they made it that someone's going to steal something from you, and the only way it could be stopped is that they stopped it. But they're the thieves. Does that make sense, Tana? I'm telling you, it was a great story. They talked about Donald Trump in his book, The Art of the Deal. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but please bear with me. For those on the East Coast, I'm talking about Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey, DC. Trump has always been a failed business person. He's been a failed business person. In The Art of the Deal, and just so give context, he ruined Atlantic City. He bankrupted Atlantic City, and what I mean by that is it will never come back. When I say never come back, meaning that the infrastructure financially, he gutted the city. In this particular passage of the book, he owes everybody. Does that sound like a successful businessman to you? He owes everybody. He puts them in the room. Look at the behavior and see if this is something that's identical to what we saw in the 2024 election. He pulls everybody in the room that he owes and he tells them, I know I owe you this money. He says, I have the plan to get you all your money back. And they say, Donald, what is the plan to get us our money back? These people are losing their houses, their businesses, going to bankruptcy because he doesn't pay. They say, how can we get our money back? And he says, the way you get your money back is that you give me more money. And they gave him more money. I don't know if you've been to Atlantic City lately, but it's still struggling. Okay, we got some more people in. Want to give a shout out. Sister Sonia Salahuddin Dalton. How you doing, big sis? Hope you're doing well. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Big brother Bilal Salahuddin. Y'all in the house? Y'all doing all right? You in the same house? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, beloved. Appreciate you. Brother Eric Carter. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All the way from South Kakalaki. Sister Ika coming all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Well, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So look, we're gonna take Satana, let's take a quick break and come back because we got a lot of stuff that we're going on. We'll be right back here on the Shout Out Show. Okay, we're not going to break. I threw it out. She wasn't ready, brothers and sisters. She was not. read my executive producer. I'm worried. Did you vote for Trump? I think this might be a conspiracy. She okay, all right. She says, "Oh, I'm messing with them." Well, let's just keep going. So I was saying that this election was stolen, and the reason I say that is not that it was stolen this election cycle or even the last election cycle, even 2016. We are prisoners to perception. The American public is are prisoners to public perception. There are videos going on right now. There's a video of an young Asian man interviewing a white man, and this white man basically argues replacement theory, saying that why should minorities still be here? You know, white people have to preserve themselves. He's saying this is a very distinguished looking white man, and he's saying basically America is for white Americans. They built it. Why should they share it with minorities? What have we done? A total overlook of history, overlook of genocide of Native Americans, total overlook of genocide, slavery, history of African American people, um, displacement of land, Native Americans, uh, Mexicans. You can go on and on. It's a very hard thing to watch because it's very arrogant. And what they're doing is putting this out because it's a template. It's a template. He may look very, very distinguished, but there's a bummy looking white guy someplace in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He's missing teeth, but he identifies with that white man because he thinks they're in the same conversation. He thinks that they're okay. And the idea of theft, like I told you, is frightening. The idea of theft is so frightening that I have to take from other people to feel better. Now, there are going to be some things that come out. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read some of the cliff notes to 2025, Project 2025, but it is a dissembling of the machinery and foundations of which to fight. It is a disassembling, a categorical disassembling of laws whereby you have the ability to resist. So the theft that happens, just like voting, because nobody really knows how you voted. Do you know what I'm saying, Sister Tana? Nobody knows how you voted. I have a theory that the election happened before. They just gave us the results that they wanted. It's happened before. America took God knows how many years for people to realize that man didn't necessarily land on the moon when they said they did. And even now, when I watch it, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical. Like, is this really happening? But it took us years to do that. And here's the thing: it didn't take years for us to know it. It took years for people to accept it. And so this thing about this election, listen, you weren't really part of an election. You were part of a reflection. You were part of perception. But there was no election. We watched people with smoke and mirrors tell us what we needed. I want to say smoke and mirrors. They told us what we needed to say to make them comfortable. They told us how we needed to vote to make them comfortable. They tell us how to educate themselves so their children feel comfortable. And it's not just comfortable like in a large, I'm talking about black kids and white kids and Latino kids going to school and looking at a curriculum that excludes them. That's what makes them uncomfortable. Well, I won't say uncomfortable. That's what makes them happy. You know, there's a movie that was out with David Allegretti, a League of Distinguished Negroes or something like that. I was really torn about that movie because the premise of the movie was this distinguished group of African Americans was there to make sure, hear me out, to make sure that white people were happy and calm. Because if they weren't happy and calm, they would wreak all this havoc. And I said, that is a strangely novel idea that this group of black men realizes that we do that, then, There's this idea, and it comes to this right here, and I'm giving it to the rap here. If you've been black long enough, you've been Mexican long enough, hell, you've been white long enough, and definitely Muslim long enough, you have to say the facts. The white people in white politics are messy. White people in white politics are messy. If you are fortunate to have, parents or grandparents who came up in that time, listen to me, where they weren't a part of the political process, where white folks voted and black folks couldn't vote. Latinos couldn't vote. I'm talking about the 50s and up until the Voting Act, where you had to sit and watch politics happen around you, and you could partake in none of it. None of it. Now, when I think back, I don't think my grandfather voted. I don't think my grandmother voted. They didn't believe in the political system. And God bless them, I understand. But us, we're goading into voting. You must vote, you must vote. Every vote counts, but does it really count? I had this eerie feeling when I voted. I did everything. I showed them my license. I signed everything. They gave me a copy of my voting record. I walked over and gave it to the guy. And at the end of it, he gave me a sticker and a receipt. A sticker and a receipt. And I sat here and I said, what if I wanted to find out if my vote counted? Where do I go? And would it really matter? Because once voting is closed, how many people voted? How many millions of people voted? You think they're really going to worry about my little vote? No, it would take my vote and maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other million votes to beg the question, was this a fair vote? But it doesn't happen like that. And we put ourselves in these small little pockets of believing in a democracy that doesn't work. One of the reasons I'm a comedian as opposed to a lawyer, as opposed to a judge, because at a very young age, I saw what laws didn't work. I saw poverty, but I saw poverty that was legal. I saw poverty that was pushed and promoted. I saw the vestiges of poor education growing up. I saw the vestiges of drugs going up. And I said, what it is meant to do is to keep our mentality on this block or just that block. And by the time I got into high school and college, I saw the Bloods and the Crips, and it was keeping everybody on the block in Chicago. It was the BDs and all this, and then it was the cliques here in DC, and it was a murderous reality. I say a murderous reality that we could not be killed by the forces without they were counting on us killing ourselves as the forces within. And there's no way you can vote to change that. The most powerful thing we can do right now, one of the most powerful things we can do right now is like understand that the cavalry's not coming. And if the cavalry is coming, question the cavalry. We need to privatize our hope. We need to privatize our genius. We need to privatize our skill sets. We need to privatize our art. Stop giving it away. Stop giving it away. This country is being fleeced as we sit. Bitcoin hit 80 some dollars. The price of gas plummeted. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Ronald Reagan did that back in the 80 elections. In the 1980 elections, years later, we found out that he made a deal with Iran and Ayatollah Khomeini not to release the American hostages until after the election, because the American hostages not being released hung on President Jimmy Carter's neck, and it drove his ratings down. And it made it easier for him to defeat because now he was viable. He was vulnerable. All right, we got some people on Instagram. Oh, you know what? We don't have people on Instagram, Satana, because I didn't turn it on. There you go. Well, we solved that. Doggone it. Listen, I hope everybody's doing well. Are you not entertained? Trump 2. See you guys next week. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Preacher Moss, shout out show. Sorry, IG. Next week.